What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As you guys can tell, we have the blue 350Z here in front of me, and we're taking off right where I left the last video on this Nissan. So as you guys know, I bought this vehicle for $2,900, and in today's video I'm going to fix everything that is wrong with this car. And if you guys are curious, at the end of the video I will show you guys how much money I made in profit selling this car. So I'm gonna drive this vehicle back to the garage so that we can start working on it and fixing things that are broken. Alright, so this vehicle needs a few things. First, what I want to do is change the oil and filter, so I'm gonna probably do that right now. After I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and check the AC system because it doesn't have AC currently, so I need to fix that problem. Also, what I want to do is clean up the interior because it is a little dirty. Maybe fix this door handle as well because it doesn't open all the times. But as you guys can see, it's still pretty dirty in here. The radio actually does not work, so I'm gonna replace that with a OEM Bose radio. I also want to jack up the vehicle and maybe remove the wheels because I think there is one that has either a bad tire or a bad wheel that is bent somewhere, because when I drive on the freeway it shakes a lot, so I need to look further into that. I'm also going to clean up the engine bay so it doesn't look as dirty, and I'm also going to remove this cold air intake and put a stock one back on. So I changed the oil, I took out the intake. I'm going to clean the throttle body because it's pretty dirty, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe down this engine as well, spray it down with some cleaner, and then we're gonna focus on the interior. All right guys, so as you can see, I kind of cleaned up the engine bay a little bit. I did remove that Canon intake and I installed something else on. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the inside of the vehicle so that I can clean that up. So a little backstory on this Nissan. The previous owner told me that I had an amplifier, but they removed it because they were going to sell the car, so they wanted to keep it. Now, he did mention to me that when they were trying to remove the cables from the back of the radio, they kind of yanked on the AC amplifier ribbon cable. That is what basically controls your different speeds from your blower motor, and it actually controls your AC compressor for it to turn on and off. This vehicle, I feel like, might just need an AC amplifier, and the AC system should be fixed. So this is the back of this radio. I'm just gonna go ahead and remove it altogether. I was gonna try to maybe fix it and maybe reconnect these connectors back where they should go. However, it is pretty messy, and there is a lot of cables that I don't know where they're supposed to go, so I'd rather not deal with this. So I'm just gonna put a good OEM radio back on and just get rid of this mess altogether. Plus, maybe I can even use this down the road on one of my cars if I end up sorting out this wiring mess. Alright, so I have the OEM radio put on. I'm gonna clean up here a few things. There's a lot of wiring left over from, I think, a system that they might have had plugged in. I want to take that out and clean things up a bit because there's still cables here that are just not going anywhere, and I don't feel right about just leaving it like this. So I'm gonna probably take the center console out and fish that cable out of there, clean things up a bit. So I cleaned up a little bit here. I'm gonna take all that wire out. There's big gauge wire, so it probably had a sub wired in before. So I'm gonna just remove this blue cable from the battery just to clean things up a bit, and then I'm gonna clean up the back as well. So this is all the wiring that I took out of the car. I just kind of cleaned up everything inside here. As you guys can see here, it looks a lot better. I got this guy installed correctly. Before, this was kind of sticking out. I put this back together. The AC works now. One of the big reasons why it wasn't working is because this guy was cut when they were installing the amp or the radio. You guys can see right here, the camera focuses. So right here, there's chunks of the ribbon that are cut. This technically still works, I just gotta repair it, but at this time I'm not gonna deal with this. So I ended up getting another AC amplifier to make this work. The AC still blows nice and cold. The only thing left to do in here is just to clean everything up. I also noticed that I had a check engine light. So what I pulled up was a P0340, which is a camshaft sensor issue on bank 1. So I am gonna replace that as well. So what I'm gonna do is just swap over this bank 1 camshaft sensor. Should be down here. To remove these camshaft sensors, you're gonna have a connector that looks like this. What you gotta do is you gotta push this little tab in. Once you do that, it'll click and then you'll pull and the connector will come out. Now the camshaft sensor is right there. It's kind of hard to see, but there's just one 10mm holding it down. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it and put a used one back in, and that should fix your problem. So I got the camshaft sensor out. This is likely original. I wasn't able to get it out with my fingers, so I used the flathead to kind of just pry it out. This is the one that I'm gonna be installing. It should be in working condition, so I'm gonna install this and turn on the car, see if it starts any better. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if it starts right up. Yep, so that should have fixed the problem there. All right, so next thing I'll do is I'll fix the door handle right there. So I got the door handle out and it doesn't look broken at all. If you guys are curious how to remove this, there's two little plastic grommets on the inside that you'll pop out. There's one over here, it's kind of hidden, and then there'll be two fasteners there holding this on. Like I said, this doesn't look broken, but it looks very dirty, so I'm gonna clean it up and see if that improves the way it opens. I also decided to change out this passenger rear shock because the car bounces a lot when I go over like 60 miles an hour. So I think it's the shock. I'm gonna replace it with this guy. This is actually like a fairly new shock, as you can tell. So I'm gonna put this on. Hopefully it fixes that issue. This is the shock that I just removed. There is no doubt that this is bad. It's not even going up at all. So I'm gonna replace it with this guy that is still good. All right, guys, and we're pretty much done with this 350Z. As you guys can tell, it looks a lot better than when I first got it. I cleaned it up quite a bit. There's no way of fixing this clear coat without, re-clearing the vehicle, but I did try my best to just kind of clean everything up and make everything look presentable. I tried to straighten out the hood a little bit and it does look a little better, but there is still a little bit of a gap there. So there's really no fixing that unless you get another hood or try to take it to a body shop. It's not a big gap, but it is noticeable. I also cleaned up all the wheels and tires. I ended up fixing the radio and I installed a OEM radio because the one that I had was shorting itself out. And there was a lot of cables that were like going nowhere. So I just removed all of that wiring mess that it had and I fixed the interior as best as possible. Now, if you guys remember, the interior of this vehicle was what needed the most work. It was filthy. And right now, as you guys can see, I kind of just cleaned it up pretty good. I also changed the camshaft sensor with a good known one, and the vehicle is running and driving good again. I also changed the oil and filter, and overall, I just gave the vehicle its maintenance. I just checked everything from the suspension, and there is some suspension work that it needs, but I didn't want to spend the extra money on fixing that, so I'll just let the next person that buys this vehicle know about that. Aside from that, this vehicle is pretty much ready to be sold. I am gonna sell it here pretty soon. So this is pretty much going to wrap up the end of today's video. Make sure to subscribe for more content coming your way. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out. This vehicle was listed for 2 days and it finally sold for $5,900. I bought it for $2,900 and I made a profit of $3,000 in total.